Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Construction Week Middle East KSA Infrastructure Virtual Summit. I am Ranju Warrior, the editor of Construction Week Middle East, which is a part of the ITP Media Group. Now, today's conference is aimed to create a great platform for our industry peers to engage in insightful conversations about the current state of infrastructure development in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Through today's virtual event, we are delighted to bring together some of the most renowned names from Saudi Arabia's and the region's construction and infrastructure industry. They will collectively address the challenges and opportunities surrounding Saudi Arabia's infrastructure development. Over the past decade, the kingdom has witnessed some of the highest scales of investments in transport as well as related social infrastructure. This has been aligned with the kingdom's economic reforms as a part of its national vision, which is aimed at strengthening its non oil revenues. Now, Construction Week Middle East has been closely following the growth of the construction and infrastructure sector in the kingdom. And today's event is aimed at finding detailed insights about the nation's expanding infrastructure sector, boosted by the ambitious Vision 2030. Now, as we inch closer to the start of our event, I would like to express my gratitude to our events and conference team for organizing today's virtual event. I would also like to thank our wonderful sponsors who've supported us to bring this event to you. And these include gold sponsors Al Bawani, Khatib and Alami, Naga Architects, and Loisberger de Boer. So, for everyone who's joined us today, please make sure to use the public chat box on the right hand side to engage in today's discussion. You can ask your questions to our panelists or simply just say hello. You can also view today's full agenda and find out more about our panelists on our event microsite displayed in the public chat box. Now that we are all set, I would like to kick off our conference by inviting our keynote speaker, Nasir Al Shawaf, member of the board of Al Bawani Holding Company. Nasir, the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Ranju. We're all very excited to be back in action after the pandemic. So it's a great platform to exchange thoughts and ideas for all industry and market participants, really. And I'd like to wish everyone happy Ramadan, since Ramadan is going to commence next week. So healthy fasting to everyone who's going to fast. There's no doubt that Saudi Arabia is full of action at the moment. It's difficult to find somewhere in the world you have more positivism, energy, vibe than Saudi. The sheer size of new projects, the government audacious vision that was outlined a few years ago now, all the initiatives, the programs, to name just a few, whether Skidiyah, Neom, Red Sea, Amala, Al-Ula, the land bridge, all the public-private initiatives, the initiatives to really make more out of our oil output in downstream projects and what have you. Energy, whether nuclear, hydrogen, renewable, just away from fossil fuel. The drive into tourism, creating a whole entertainment sector, the environmental theme, sustainability, waste to energy, sports and leisure, whether it's racing or equestrian or golfing. It's really incredible. The exhibitions, I mean, for the past several months, almost every week we have 1, 2, or 3 events in Saudi. So it's really pleasing. No one can underestimate that energy. Saudi is no doubt is a G20 country. It's the heart of the Muslim world, given that we have the 2 holy mosques. So you have more than 1 billion people looking at Saudi and relate to it as a country. So given all of that, this will result in some massive spending. and infrastructure is going to be at the heart of it. And we need market participants to work together to deliver those projects that are certainly very ambitious and would require different forms of contracts in some cases. And they all have extremely ambitious deadlines. And I know some critique that, oh, some projects are taking longer. And I think that's quite an unfair comment, because if you look at any of the major projects around the world, whether it's Eurostar or Crossrail or what have you, they are being debated for decades, let alone that most of them take much longer than expected, and they're way over budget. So yes, we are embarking on some really major and exciting projects. They're going to take some time, and I think it's really up to us as market players and participants of how can we work together to deliver. I believe some recent events in Europe, the unfortunate war in Ukraine, has also reminded people that Saudi is an important player in the global economy. And we're, besides being a producer, we're a stabilizer as well. People unfortunately tend to be always kind of extreme. We'll go all renewable, we'll go all green. You know, I think the world will move to a more balanced approach, where they'll always try to diversify the energy resources and means. Another sector I'll touch on is mining. I believe Saudi is determined to make mining a major part of its economy. And there will be a number of reforms and regulations announced in this respect. Digitalization and the whole kind of digital economy play. I believe Saudi is probably one of the world top countries when it comes to electronic government and services. And that's truly fascinating. 15 years ago, we were really lagging behind. And you had a whole kind of sector of people trying to, PROs and what have you, people who their main job is just to go and try to finish your government paperwork. We have gone a long way now. Everything is digital. Even the Ministry of Justice, all your government transactions are now virtually digital, which is really an achievement for the government bodies who worked on this transformation. I believe the major issue I want to really address today is the government has set the vision and the direction of travel. And they said, guys, we want to increase the market, the private sector participation, and that's the right thing to do. But then we really have to rise up to the challenge. They've opened up the market and invited all kind of multinational companies, firms, boutique designers, and what have you, to come and participate in the growth of the new Saudi Arabia. This is all great. All the new companies, whether they are PIF related or new programs and initiatives under the government umbrella, are all kind of pushing to deliver their projects. All great, except that you need us as players, firms, whether design, supervising, companies or contractors and suppliers, to kind of all work together to deliver. And I believe contract conditions need to be looked at more carefully. We need a more collaborative market environment in order for us to deliver on those incredible projects. We need genuine investment in human capital. And the government is very determined to push all of us to recruit Saudis and train them. I believe the government truly unleashed the potential of Saudi Arabia by giving the room for the youngsters to play a bigger role in shaping the country's future by creating all those new sectors and really improving the level of transparency, of accountability. This is all great. We've become a very merit-based economy and society, which is very pleasing. But now we need to work together to rise up to the challenge and see how can we deliver on those projects. I've noticed many of the programs or the new companies are yet to kind of establish the track record to support contractors and market participants, which is natural given the fast pace we're moving at. But I believe this is kind of a call for us to work together, to collaborate, to cooperate, to deliver on the highly ambitious vision of Saudi Arabia. And with that, I'll conclude my talk.
Thank you very much, Nasir. Those were some remarkable thoughts, I must say. And I'm sure everyone who's watching today would also agree that Saudi Arabia has definitely become an opportune market for the industry. And obviously, it is being driven by infrastructure and construction as one of the key enablers. So thank you once again for sharing your thoughts. Now, as we move on to some thought provoking discussions, everyone, we will now explore and obviously build on what Nasser just mentioned, how Kingdom's Vision 2030 is actually advancing infrastructure development in the region. And let us begin the discussion by inviting our panelists for this session. Joining us first is Christian Abrahamson, Vice President of Transportation at Khatib and Alami. Also joining us is Kenny Lin, a partner for Capital Project Services and a leader at PwC Middle East. And finally, we have Wael Isa Al Rashdi, who is the Business Development Director at Masa Specialized Construction. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me today. It's absolutely a pleasure to host you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now,
Pleasure to be here.
all of us know that the Vision 2030 is set to strengthen Saudi Arabia's competitiveness globally. And it also aims to provide the best quality of life for its citizens and residents. And with that in mind, I am going on to have my first question for all of you, which is with this in mind, obviously, how do you think has infrastructure become a key enabler? And how do you think will it drive the development and expansion of the kingdom's ambitions? Let's hear your thoughts first, Christian.
You'd like me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think in order to better understand how infrastructure will drive development and expand the kingdom's growth, describe it the way I best can from the perspective of Khatib and Alami, of course, as we're a major player, engineering and construction supervision provider in the region, in particular Saudi Arabia. We know the kingdom extremely well. And so I think when we consider infrastructure development, we could do it in relation to the three pillars of the Vision 2030. And most important is number one, vibrant society, and number two, thriving economy. So I'll focus on those two pillars, which are most relevant to my sector, which is transportation. So Khatib Alami, we do all sectors, but I'll be focusing on transportation today. So regarding our role in helping achieve the vision, I'd like to describe the historic role we've had in the development of the Saudi infrastructure and transportation. So Khatib Alami currently has over 3,000 people working in the kingdom, among which 38% currently are Saudi nationals. And this number is increasing as we seek to attract more Saudi talent to our business and to fulfill the mandate of the government. We also have permanent offices in Riyadh, Jeddah, and Koba, and we recently opened office in Dubai and Abha in order to be close to our clients and their projects. And through our engineering, consulting, and supervision services, we're fully committed to achieve the vision of the kingdom in any way we can. We fully understand the vision, and in fact, it lies close to our hearts since we've been a leading consultant in the kingdom since 1969, where we opened our first offices there. So this is something we're very proud of. We've been a part of the development of the infrastructure of the kingdom. So as for transportation, which I'm in charge of, the transportation networks and supporting digital infrastructure represents a major component for the economic growth of the kingdom in achieving the Vision 2030. Specifically, the first pillar, the vibrant society, we're actively working on the development of transportation solutions and cultural sites such as Suda, Al-Ula, and various sites within NEOM. Here, sustainability, comfort, safety, the experience of the trip, and in case of rail and airports, the architecture of stations and hubs of utmost importance. Another objective in the first pillar is the development of cities. An obvious example where Khatib Alami is heavily involved is in NEOM, which fully embodies the vision of 2030 in all aspects, and as such is a leading example, which I might get back to later. I'll leave some time for others to talk to the first question.
All right, Christian, thank you there. And I think I picked on your point about how it's important for the key players in the market to be closer to where your clients are. And I think all of the contractors who are working in Saudi Arabia would definitely agree to you. Now, what are your thoughts on how companies are able to achieve the mandates for Vision 2030? How has your experience been helping organizations in that matter?
Yeah, first of all, really, I want to say thank you for the event today and organize well. So, Mr. Nasser and Mr. Christian, they discuss about some really important point, which is I don't want to repeat it again. I appreciate them, but I will go also with our vision. You know, first of time, this with the new vision, we saw our country. It's clear with the private sector. You know, they show us their vision, where they are going to go. They show us really the giga project what they have through some initiative like Saudi Contracting Authority. They make yearly forum. Every company and provider from semi-government or Aramco or the other, they come to show all the giga project. They give us more details. They help us how to register with them, how the quality they need it, you know. So it was was very good for us to prepare ourselves and put clear strategy and our company and develop ourselves to match the vision 2030. That's really, it was great. I appreciate for such of this initiative. Out of this also in some companies, you know, from PIF or when they come to negotiate with the contractor, they came with some fair condition in the contract, which is before the other owner, they are not adding this condition. But today, some of PIF company, they came to reduce our risk in the contracting and adding some condition, helping the contractor. This is very good, extremely great. Yeah. So this is some point really we saw it with the new vision. Out of this also in the infrastructure, you know, for the for developing the infrastructure in the 5G network provided by the kingdom has a tremendous effect in the facilitate and the communication with a project internally and internationally. Today virtual meeting have become more flexible anywhere around the world. Today I
Yeah.
can meet Mr. Chris when he's in Italy, or Mr. Mr. Lin, he's in any other country. We can see each other's with the high speed network. We appreciate our Prince Muhammad that he requests to increase the gigahertz through the network, so it help us to move very well, especially when we face the crisis, COVID-19
Yeah.
crisis. With this infrastructure and strong infrastructure, what we just prepare within 2-3 years, from 2016 up to 2020, really we passed the crisis in the best way, better than a lot of company in the world. Why? Because of the vision 2030. This is yani one. Plus, out of this also, our the vision, it's they are attacking the corruption. Before, as a contractor, before we face a lot of problem because of the corruption. Projects sometime going somewhere, or this because of the relation, because of the something not okay. So it was not fair. Today, no. Today, really, we feel that it's very fair, and the way how they register the company and pre-qualified them, they will not keep any company in any other category. Category A will be in category A. Category 2 will be. This will help us when we bid in some project. That yani if you bring me, I'm grade 1 contractor. If you bring grade 2 contractor in some big project, giga project, to bid with me, it's not fair. Why? Because the price, how he doesn't have that much information about to price these project, to match the quality, to match the safety, right? And
Yeah.
to achieve the right budget. But today, alhamdulillah, we see the organization in the market sector, and it's really appreciate. I have other things, but I will give Mr. Lin time to say hi. Shukran.
Yeah. Thank you for those points. Well, and very important, like how you mentioned, the Vision 2030 has obviously created a positive sentiment for the construction and the contracting sector. And I'm sure everyone who's watching us today would completely agree with your key points there. Now, Kenny, we did lose you there for a bit, but it's good to see you back. Now, let's hear your thoughts very quickly on how do you think is Saudi Arabia building on the Vision 2030?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's good to meet you all. And Nasser, good to catch up, and enjoyed your speech at the start. I think it's a very positive situation at the moment in the kingdom. I mean, I've been through a few construction cycles in different countries, but I've never seen a boom the size of the boom we're in the middle of in Saudi Arabia in all my career. And I think it's coupled both with the transformation in the kingdom, which PwC as a company has been supporting for many years. But what's nice now is to see that we're moving into the delivery phase of the vision, and we moved away from the strategizing phase, and we're into real delivery. For me personally, that's the fun part, the delivery part. But I think with that transformation, the industry is evolving quickly. The more collaborative models, the fairer contracting conditions, innovation, capacity and capability building, all big topics for the industry to deal with. But I think the momentum of the vision, the momentum of the infrastructure sector at the moment will drive those initiatives, because there's a combination of a need to drive the initiative and a need to deliver. And I think there's a real momentum in the kingdom now, and it's an exciting place to work.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
the over and above that, the combination of social infrastructure as well as economic infrastructure will drive a momentum as well. You know, it's a well-known factor. You can drive the economy, but the IMF are widely proposed every dollar you invest in infrastructure, you get a return of $1.5. So it's worth, it's worth the effort, it's worth the investment. And I think as we combine the transformation with the post-COVID recovery,
Yeah.
I think that momentum will continue. We're seeing it globally, but in the kingdom in particular. So I think looking forward to a very productive and positive next 10 years.
Yeah, very interesting points there. And I'm sure it's obviously an exciting time for the kingdom's ambitious growth. And also because Saudi Arabia is definitely making the impossible possible. So it's definitely a very exciting venue to look at. Now, quickly coming to you, Christian, because we're talking about building on ambitions, we obviously know there are a lot of opportunities that come out of such ambitions. So, what, according to you, are certain ambitions, certain opportunities that the kingdom's expansive infrastructure offers to the contracting sector? And if you would like to talk to us about how has it been for Khatib and Ulami?
So, due to the ambitious nature and futuristic requirements of the transportation program embodied in the Vision 2030, we see immense opportunities for contractors currently as they can enter into these new markets that are caused by these requirements. And they, among others, they are markets that when you are building, expanding transportation networks, building new roads, you have to factor into this, integrate a digital network where it allows for artificial intelligence of the future, driverless vehicle, digitization. The new transportation grids should be based on and will also have built into the design sustainable energy grids that are different.
Yeah.
We need to think about charge stations and infrastructure for electric vehicles. It's extremely important. And this will require that contractors, they seek new partners, international partners and others that come with cutting edge solutions, which include these new technologies.
Yeah.
And this will open new doors and revenue streams for contractors. And it will also, in return, support development and adoption of new construction management technologies and techniques. Automation in building sites and logistics are requirements in future construction programs. Examples of using drones for supervision, using more building information modeling online with clients, providing more virtual reality solutions. So the construction sector is already heavily involved in construction of ports, rail, and roads, based on international partnerships in the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And obviously with so many opportunities there, like how Christian mentioned, we have to know the fact that there are going to be a lot of challenges. And obviously one of these challenges is going to be the funding. And that brings me to my question for you, Kenny, there. Obviously with having increased its spending on economic and social infrastructure development, there has certain key challenges on our way when it comes to attracting funding. So, how do you think Saudi Arabia is overcoming this kind of a challenge, to make sure that it fulfills the mandates for the vision?
Yeah, it's a really good question, that, and I think we have to look at private sector financing as an absolute must for sustainable delivery in the kingdom. I mean, at the moment, I think the kingdom's about 1.7% is spent on delivered by the private sector, whereas in the G20 average is about 6.6%. But KSA has really strong credentials in certain areas, but it's quite narrow. And so we see, there's multiple projects in water, in power. There's quite limited amount of PPP projects and private finance projects in transport and education. And the government is obviously reliant on government credit support. So I think there is a good case study in the telecom sector, which has been very is been very successful in its privatization program. But I think the move forward needs to look at greater risk transfer and greater risk transfer and higher reward within those models to attract. There's another aspect as well, which is the quality of infrastructure investment. And that links back to the preparation phase of, and it was a key feature actually of the G20 summit in Riyadh.
Yeah.
But that preparation phase is crucial, not only for the successful delivery of projects, but to attract funding.
Yeah.
And so coupled with good preparation, good business case development, and you're seeing strong institutions in the kingdom growing, Expro, the former KSA and Mashruat coming together, NCP, the institutions around that front end and preparing projects to make them bankable for the finance sector is really, really important. Together with, I think, something that would be useful in the kingdom is a more broader and a stronger ESG framework to support financing when we'll attract financing to the kingdom. But the starting point for me is the preparation phase. And that's looking at the wider infrastructure planning in the kingdom, a more integrated model, a longer term pipeline, a visible, transparent pipeline of projects over the next 5 to 10 years that will attract investors into the kingdom and go away from the stop-start view of construction and the cyclical view. I think that would be really helpful. But certainly for me, it's broadening the already strong base of privatization in the kingdom will really help. There's some really good examples in the renewable sector with Repdo. At the moment, there's solar projects, there's power projects. But we need to push those out into other sectors and broaden the horizon.
Yeah, very interesting points made there, Kenny. And I think it also builds onto the discussion that we are having. And that brings me to my question for, obviously, being one of the leading contractors in the kingdom, which has worked on some of the biggest healthcare projects, also because both Christian and Kenny touched upon social infrastructure. Which area of infrastructure do you think has seen most development, and where have you found opportunities as an organization?
Actually, regarding the healthcare sector, today, as a mass specialized construction company, we are first of all we are specialized in the healthcare sector and high-rise building and hospitality. So in Riyadh today, we are building the largest healthcare facility in the MENA, in the Middle East and North Africa. It is the build-up area of the project around 427,000 build-up area, around 27th floor. This project actually, it started on March 2020, which is crisis time when COVID-19 started. So it was really a big challenge to move and at that time, and especially our project with Al Habib Hospital Group, So the time for them, very important, quality. So what we did in this challenge, we did many patient clinic on site at that time, and we prepare accommodation for our people, right? Then because we have all our own equipment, we keep it on site. Then we move strongly from March up to December 2021. December 2021, we complete the fully civil work. So alhamdulillah, with the infrastructure, what we have in the country, and the vision supported, it supports us also to move in very good direction. Out of this also, the kingdom vision encourage the advancement of the development in the all field. And we are cooperating today with a number of international companies to find a new and advanced method to improve the speed of the construction productivity and we already have a JV with a JV with one company to provide modern construction technology that will speed the project, not for us only, that will help our client. For example, if the project period in the civil work, it will take 2 years as a huge, we can do it in 1 year with the quality, with the budget, okay, and with fast track project. Today we are doing we are very strongly in the fast track project, but we did not stop at this point. No, we are communicating with the world to find the best way to do the fast track project in the construction.
Yeah, great points there, Gail. And obviously, it definitely brings a key understanding of how and obviously why social infrastructure is one of the main pillars of Saudi's overall infra development. And definitely it's very interesting to see how Masa as a contractor is helping, the organizations across the country do that. Now, taking our conversation forward, now, according to World Bank, and I would like to mention a few points here, the percentage of urbanization in Saudi Arabia reached 84.29% in 2020. Now, this definitely means that the need for infrastructure development is increasing year on year. That brings me to my question for you, Christian. Do you think in that case, rail and metro infrastructure development is becoming the backbone of KSA's transport, amid urbanization? And do you expect to see a sea of transformation in the transportation sector?
I think the short answer is yes. Rail is definitely the backbone, and in fact, MOT is committed to decrease the carbon emissions and fuel consumed by passenger cars. So there are three main strategic steps that the kingdom is taking right now to reduce this. So shifting new passenger car sales toward electric models, electrifying the public transport system, in particular with regard to new bus fleets. And also, third, the shaping consumer behavior towards shift from cars to more alternative means of transport, such as rail and metro. And some of the goals for the implementation of the strategy includes linking cities such as Mecca, Jeddah, and Medina through a high-speed rail network, connecting eastern and western parts of the kingdom and the ports, and also joining the Gulf-wide rail network. And future cities, such as Neom and others, will also be connected to the future high-speed rail in the kingdom. So the kingdom has rightly recognized the importance of high-speed rail at a regional level. And they plan to increase the total length of rail to over 8,000 kilometers in the vision. And speaking of rail, I should mention the Global Logistics Center, which is crucial to achieving the vision in transportation and improving quality of life in Saudi cities, and improving also, I should mention performance in government through more effective regulations for transportation projects, and also better project management through organizations such as Majruat. I was, in fact, very involved in development of the Majruat organization, of making and introducing standard project management in Saudi Arabia. So rail is key to achieving Saudi Arabia, the development of cities, but also achieving its objectives in terms of becoming a regional hub, and also being a logistics center for the region. And besides, it's also worth noting that Saudi Arabia is ideal for development of high-speed rail because of the distance it has between its major cities. High-speed rail is by nature its most effective and competitive for linking cities at a distance between 500 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers. So, and that's ideal for the kingdom, considering its geography and its ambitions to develop these mega cities. And so it's obvious that these should be linked by high-speed rail. Within the cities, light rail and trams will shape the backbone of public transportation. But in the future, it will be interesting to see how this might change in the long term, once land transport has fully become driverless,
Yeah.
which is one of the key ambitions in the transportation sector within the vision, is electric and driverless. So that will free up space, and as people also increasingly will be working from home, the consumer behaviors will change. So it'll be interesting to see how the urban rail systems fit into this new environment.
Yeah.
I should also mention air traffic in terms of the strategy of achieving, making the kingdom a hub. So linking the kingdom to more than 205 international destinations, planning to launch a new national carrier. So this is all very important also because high-speed rail and air are complementary as transportation systems in the creation of hubs.
Yeah.
So they don't always necessarily compete, they also become complementary. As you could see in the development of high-speed rail in France, and in particular, how air and rail are very complementary.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it answers the question as much as I can regarding the rail.
Yes, it definitely does, and obviously, it also brings down to the point where Saudi Arabia is actually increasing people connectivity massively through the projects that you just spoke about, Christian. And obviously, one of the key focuses has been the evolution of the transportation sector, and it's exciting to definitely see more coming on in this matter. Now, taking the discussion forward, the current oil market climate in Saudi Arabia provides the country with an opportunity to not only catch up on executing the vision realization programs in 2022 and obviously years ahead, but it is also because of the pandemic that we were able to move on and then focus on these realizations. But obviously, at that point, accelerating domestic investments has also become one of the key focuses for Saudi. Now, coming to you, Kenny, how significantly do you think, with such positive sentiment that Saudi has, will it impact the investments in infrastructure projects?
Hi, thanks, Ranju. I think the nature of our industry is cyclical. It tends to go up and down, and particularly in the Middle East, it's tied very much to the oil price. Government spending is tied very closely to the oil price. I think the secret here is to smooth the cyclical nature of funding. There will be a peak. There will be a catch up on accelerating some of the projects, but we need to look to the longer term, more sustainable investment and the longer term infrastructure growth. And I think that's by starting to bring in the private sector, starting to create an environment where the private sector thrives in delivering infrastructure. But I think this is a huge opportunity for the kingdom to really invest not only in physical assets and connectivity, but actually to invest in the industry itself, in the capacity, the capability of the industry, and the productivity of the industry, to really capture the benefits that will come from digitization in the industry, from building a capacity base, from building a network in the kingdom of major contractors and major engineering companies to compete with the internationals, and not only put the kingdom on a footing to deal with its own infrastructure, but actually to put it on the international stage with skills and capacity. So I think there's a huge opportunity for the kingdom that shouldn't just be wasted by throwing money at assets, but actually should throw money at the fundamentals that underpin the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it also builds on what Nasser mentioned in his keynote speech is, we need to learn on building on these opportunities and not just looking at them from, certain aspects. And it definitely supports your points too there. Now, I see we only have 5 more minutes to go for this discussion. So I would like to quickly have a wrap up and understand from each one of you, what do you think will construction companies in Saudi Arabia need in order to meet the mandate of the plan that is being set ahead of us to make infrastructure sector more integrated in the kingdom?
So while local and international contractors operate successfully in the construction sector in the kingdom, the sector is beginning to see more consortium contractors.
Yeah.
So, and they're a combination of local, international, but also sometimes locally, solely international. I mean, the consortia that which are the most qualified in the particular are the ones that are selected. So, regardless of whether it's local or not. So, it's all about really capabilities, which is the choice for the contractors. Being specialized in an area can really demonstrate that you have experience for this forward-looking and very ambitious projects that we have in this 2030 vision.
Yeah.
And another aspect is the huge demand for construction services there, which is happening now. And so there's a very hard pressure on materials and products such as cement and other building materials. And so one of the requirements, and I think the differentiation factors or success factors for contractors, is to make sure that you have your supply logistics in order and to acquire the material and equipment and quick mobilization to the sites. That's a key factor. Another, of course, I should mention is the Saudization mandates for the industry. So providing interesting work. It's not just a question of hiring people, but you need to also get them fully involved in these highly interesting projects. And I think that there will also be more scrutiny as to the environmental and sustainable solutions, and also the construction techniques that are implemented. So that's important for the contractors to consider. And last, I would like to mention that, of course, there's also a mandate, a requirement to by, I believe it's after 2023, to have locate regional headquarters in the kingdom, which makes perfect sense because of the importance of being on site and close to the clients and projects.
Yeah, definitely key insights there, Christian. And I think it also is important to see how all this builds into the vision that the National Transformation Program also has for Saudi Arabia. Now, coming to you, Kenny, what are your final thoughts, and what would you like to say? How is the kingdom looking at faring and fulfilling the mandate of the Vision 2030? And is the construction sector doing right by focusing on the opportunities?
Thanks, Ranju, and Christian. I share a lot of your sentiments there, and I think that the industry is evolving, and what I'm seeing is a great uptake in digital technologies, a lot more discussion around modern methods of construction, prefabbing, particularly modular housing. These are discussions that are going on at the moment, and I think the push towards technology and the push towards some modern methods of construction are being driven largely by the giga projects driving those mandates. However, the pull through and the benefits are being seen and starting to be seen in the public sector. And I think that momentum will continue. And I think that's my key message here. The momentum has started and it will continue. But I think the modern methods of construction being much more digitalized will change the workforce of the future. And that workforce will be much more attractive for Saudi nationals who maybe have not been attracted to the construction sector in the same way previously, the traditional industry that we're familiar with. Yeah. So I think, those different jobs, there'll be different jobs in the future. Companies will be hiring data analysts, BIM specialists, technology people, rather than civil engineers and quantity surveyors as much. So I think there'll be a much bigger spread. I just think the momentum that's going on at the moment, we have to keep driving. I think in the public sector, the new general tendering and procurement law has opened up alternative procurement routes that were quite strict and rigid before. I think contracts still need to look to a preference towards, as they are with Saudization and localization, but I think they need to bring in things like digitalization into the mix in looking at the way contracts are procured and putting a preference towards digitization and innovation in the sector. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in the same position of lowest cost wins, small margins, no encouragement to invest. So I think the government is part of the answer here in encouraging that investment in innovation,
Yeah.
as it is with localization and Saudiization.
Absolutely. And I think it also reminds us all how, as an industry, we've evolved, and then make sure that we improve on the adoption of digital technology. And then we need to continue doing that more. And Saudi Arabia is also setting a right example there. Now, while can I know your final thoughts and what you think about how contractors specifically are helping Saudi to attain its Vision 2030 goals?
Yeah, see, first of all, we appreciate the country, which is what they did in the great organization and development in the all ministries, and that one, it's affecting and improving the contracting sector.
Yes.
From our side, it's really we need to pass a message, which is the inflation today is affecting the contracting sector, and we are happy to see that the oil price is going up, that our income will increase and our economy will improve, but in the same time will affect in the material. So I hope that in the next year, let's say first quarter or what else, we see the VAT, they look to the VAT percentage. If there is a way to reduce it or to study how they can reduce that, so it will help a lot of the contracting sector and also the market and economy. There is a lot of opportunity. The vision is created in the healthcare sector, like PPP project with the Ministry of Health, with the private sector. They open a lot of opportunity, and also with the local content, which is the program. It's helping the market also with the problem of the logistic, that we can use a lot of material from inside. That it will help a lot. I see they are concentrating in that, and we appreciate them. And also, like our colleague, they mentioned in the contract condition. I believe if they look to the contract condition and look to our site as a company trying to do quality and good job, and this, and also we need them to look to us to keep at least our profit. We have small profit in the contracting sector. We need from these clients, okay, to look to us that to keep something for us, so we can growth and support the vision 2030. Shukran Anju, shukran brother. Pleasure to be with you today. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Well, very, very exciting points there. And I think it covers up and rounds up, to be specific, our discussion this morning. Thank you once again, Christian, Kenny, and Well, for your time today and for sharing such amazing insights with us about Saudi's journey in building on the Vision 2030. On that note, we will now move on to our next session. And taking the summit forward, we will welcome our next set of panelists who will explore the opportunities and challenges in executing large scale smart city infrastructure in the kingdom. Now, for this wonderful panel discussion, I am joined by Samir Dawood, Executive Director of Infrastructure at KO International Consultants, Manal Sayed, who is a Senior Director for Geospatial System Integration Division at Khatib and Alami, and Omar Dalawar, who is the CEO of DHB Holding. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to see you all and welcome you to this discussion. Now, quickly taking our conversation forward and starting on with our discussion, we all know that Saudi Arabia is definitely brimming with opportunities across infrastructure, which is obviously evidenced by, as we spoke earlier, road, rail, electricity, and airport projects. However, one of the essential elements in expanding these opportunities is the development of smart cities. Now, before we have Omar there, let's have a question quickly for both of you all, Samir and Manal. How do you think is Saudi Arabia working towards creating more
It's not on.
interconnected smart cities, and in doing so with the right infrastructure development in place? Let's hear your thoughts first, Samir.
Really, thank you for inviting us today, and I think it's a great opportunity to sit with this panel. Who's I have the pleasure to actually work with some today, and just to answer your question, I think it's important to note that 82% of Saudi's population are actually living in cities today. And
Yeah.
while KSA is going into a massive shift in which it transforms many cities into smart ones to boost investment away from oil dependency, but new smart cities are also proposed across the kingdom, and mainly to increase the level of citizen satisfaction, improve efficiency of city management, minimize the environmental impact, attracting local and foreign investments, and create job opportunities. You know, the term smart cities, in my opinion,
Yeah.
shall be around the objective of a smart city, which is mainly to provide comprehensive approach of urban management for all aspects of the city, and focuses on the interconnection or interconnectivity of these aspects, from social to urban to institutional, etc. And I'm proud to say that the kingdom had been advancing in this matter and been planning to demonstrate smart governance, smart mobility, smart environment, smart people, and smart living. And
Yeah.
one great example that comes to mind, which in January 2021, when His Royal Highness announced plans to build the Line project, for example, 170-kilometer build of hyper connected future communities without cars, without streets, and no carbon emissions, and having smart infrastructure. That's what I think.
Yeah, interesting insights there, Samir, and it also builds on why Saudi Arabia is definitely planning better to build the smart cities of the future. Coming to you, Manal, what are your quick thoughts on how smart city approach is being taken forward in the kingdom?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think Samir has touched on many points, and Saudi Arabia has been working towards creating interconnected cities for several years now, and we know all the infrastructure basically is the backbone for the smart cities.
Yes.
And actually, over the past years, we've never been busier with working towards integrating digital infrastructure, basically. And this is the work of my team within Khatib and Alami, and we've never been busier, you know. And since Saudi launched their vision, the 2030 vision, they've accomplished a lot. And definitely, when we see those big giga projects that everybody's talking about, like Neom and the other cities, these are excellent examples, regarding the interconnected cities. But we also have to focus on what Saudi Arabia has been doing for the existing cities. They're doing a lot of work to connect and existing cities, improve the services in those cities, and make them more livable through the new technologies. And as we know, technology is very important and playing a major role nowadays, and it's behind basically the development of the smart cities, which definitely smart cities should focus towards the enhancements of the quality and the livability of the citizens. And one of the examples that K&A has worked on is the enhancement of the public services in Riyadh City. This is a very big project, or a program, basically. It's a set of projects that focus on establishing the spatial intelligence and the data management platforms for the public services in Riyadh, to ensure that that people have access to all different types of services. Yeah, and basically another example is the Saudi Arabia has been focusing a lot on the public sector and the modernization and the transparency of the sector, and focusing again on the citizens. If we look at all those e-services portals that the government has developed in all the country, in all the municipalities, for all government services, and they've proved to be like one of the innovative governments in terms of services, and they've ranked, they have a high ranking in that. So I think, there's many examples on this, and Saudi Arabia has been doing excellent in this space, and I think it's an excellent place to work in.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting times, and interconnectivity is obviously is going on another level on how Saudi Arabia is making it the country more human centric, as you said, Manal. Now, coming back to you, Samir, quickly, and I'm sad that we lost Omar there because of some technical issues, but hope that he's able to join the discussion later on.
Actually, I'm in, but I cannot open the camera. See, I think you can hear me. I'm sorry for that.
Omar.
For some reasons, I cannot open the camera.
That's okay. In that case, we would love to still hear your thoughts on what do you think are some of the key principles of smart cities, and how is Saudi approaching that?
Okay, so it's an important question actually, and let me first explain what do we mean by the smart cities. So a lot of people would think of smart cities as, I mean, when you imagine and you ask yourself what is a smart city or a future city, you would be thinking of flying cars or what you see in the movies. But actually, the major conflict that we're having recently is whether the tech giants or the people first place designers will be leading our future cities. So smart cities should create a people first urban place. We want to use technology to study human behaviors to shape conditions for people to thrive, for vibrant societies and thriving economy. So we use technology to understand the people behaviors and the environment challenges in better and accurate way. And therefore, we will be able to design and take decisions more accurately in favor of people. In my opinion, a smart city is based on a technology that serves people predominantly composed of information and communication technology, what we call it ICT, to develop, deploy, and promote sustainable development practices and to address growing urban challenges. Big part of this ICT framework, Ranju, is the intelligent network of connected objects and machines that we call it digital city, transmitting data using wireless technology and cloud. The cloud-based IoT applications receive, analyze, and manage data in real time to help municipalities, enterprises, and citizens to make a better decision to improve the quality of life. So going to your question about what are the principles of the smart city. So I think smart cities are 6 smart things that we need to achieve. And a lot of people would be focusing on few and not all. So when we say smart city, it's smart economy. A smart city that supports entrepreneurship and innovation, productive city, local produce, which is very important, and globally interconnected. And this is the smart economy. We want to have smart people by quality of education, inclusive society, embrace creativity. At the same time, we want to have smart environment, and we all know that, the green buildings and the green energy, green urban planning. Smart governments, and we know about smart governments, about the government services that we are all seeing across, especially MENA region, very advanced e-government systems, but it's not that it's the IoTs and the governments, the urban governance that we put on cities. And again, it's the transparency and open data of smart governments where it will provide us and share with us information that we will be able to even perform better. Smart living, and this is the 5th one. Smart living is really creating 15-minute walkable neighborhoods, culturally vibrant and happy, safe and healthy. And last, and it's very important, is smart mobility. We need to start looking at prioritizing non-motorized options, integrated ICTs, autonomous mobility options, and mass transits.
That's right. Very interesting points there, Omar. And then just a quick one there. Do you think in that case, Saudi Arabia is actually fulfilling all those 6 pointers? And I ask this because Samir just mentioned about the Line project, and we are looking at the Line project, and we are seeing a futuristic city. So, do you think Saudi Arabia is actually fulfilling all those points there, Omar?
Look, my opinion, the foundation of a smart city is the information and communication technology. It's the ICT, the digital transformation, and this is the foundation of digital transformation. So that means this is the cybersecurity, this is the cloud computing, data centers, Internet of Things, 5G, and so on. So if we looked at Saudi Arabia in terms of numbers, and this is according to the International Data Corporation, Saudi Arabia's overall ICT expenditures was over $30 billion in 2021. And this is up by 1.5% from 2020. The government has already invested approximately in around $4 billion on digital infrastructure, with 1.3 billion embarked on Internet of Things. The current value of Saudi Arabia data and artificial intelligence AI economy is estimated around $4 to $6 billion, and we expect by 2030 the AI to contribute $133 billion to the local GDP. I'm sure you heard also about smart cities in Saudi Arabia. We have 16 smart cities currently ongoing, including Neom, the Red Sea, Qiddiya. So they are aiming to be the world's most connected and digitized nation by 2030. So they are on track for sure.
Absolutely. And definitely that brings us to exciting times in Saudi. And we can't wait to see how all these exciting smart cities that we're talking about are helping the nation to fulfill, the mandate towards Vision 2030, like how we mentioned in our first panel discussion. Now, coming to you, Samir, and I have a very interesting question for you now that Omar actually mentioned some of the giga projects. Do you think that these multi-billion dollars worth of planned mega and giga projects are actually creating a new approach to smart city infrastructure in the kingdom?
Ranju, I'll have to tell you, speaking after Omar is not fair.
Oh,
he has
my God.
actually covered all these points in his previous, talk or presentation. But I'll give it a shot, and I will just build on what Omar said. We've always been learning from this guy. So to answer your question, it is absolutely correct. Yes. It's very clear in the Saudi vision that there is a focus on smart cities. But what is surprising? That smart cities has never been mentioned literally within the vision. But if you read between the lines, you can find it. It is there. And the proof to that, if you look at the numbers, I know that Omar just mentioned that the $30 billion has been invested in 2021 on the technologies and the digital transformation. But the smart cities in 2019, the value, it was valued at about $3.5 billion. And now it's projected to reach 14.7 billions by 2027. That's on its own is a testimony of what is happening within the kingdom. Smart cities encourage sustainable economic development. And I think Omar mentioned that as well. It stimulates the economic growth, and it improves the quality of life of individuals. It enables the local developments and harnessing technology, particularly the technology leading to smart results. And with these iconic projects that we have across the kingdom, it actually creates a massive competitiveness approach and drive to deliver the latest up-to-date, sustainable, and smart solutions.
Yeah, and I think it also definitely leaves a responsibility and an important one for Saudi Arabia on developing a more smart and urban infrastructure, that emphasizes the growth of smart city, now that it also plans to go net zero by 2060. That brings me to a quick question for you, Manal. What role do you think can technology play, like how Samir mentioned, and Omar as well, in the evolution of smart and future city infrastructure?
Well, we don't have the answers now for, all the answers for smart city. But I think moving it towards smart cities, this means that cities will become more sustainable, more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and flexible, and pleasant for people to live in. Technology plays an important role, especially in the digital transformation that everybody's talking about. And again, the major importance is to prove the quality of life by being more sustainable, having more responsive buildings, better quality, better air quality, and so on. So basically, I think the most important word is basically the integration of all the different components of the smart city. And I think that's very essential, you know, to have to support the smart city infrastructure.
Yes, since you mentioned that, and I have another question for you there, Manal. Obviously, with all the points that you just mentioned, you know, sustainability has obviously become an equally important element of smart city infrastructure, because we are looking at, you know, more human-centric designs, and we are looking at more sustainable cities of the future. But how, in that case, do you think should sustainable principles be embedded in the design and planning and execution of smart city infrastructure?
I think sustainability is very important, and to create smart city, I'm not sure if it's really about embedding, but I think they go hand in hand. Like, you cannot have a smart city that's not sustainable. And as cities grow, there will be more pressure on the existing services, and this growth will be linked to their ability to address issues related to urbanization, related to the social impact, environmental and economic issues. And so the main aim is to plan, design, and execute a sustainable smart city. And I think smart technologies, if they meet their purpose in a smart city, they will result in a more resource efficient, cleaner, and healthier place to live and work.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting points there, Manal. Now, coming to you, Omar. Obviously, we know that Saudi Arabia's government is actually pushing ahead its stunning plans for smart city development. And as we all just mentioned, NEOM is a very good example of how the country is doing that, as well as the other giga projects. But why do you think are all governments worldwide considering the transformation to smart cities? And how do you think is Saudi Arabia doing this?
Before I tell you the challenges, we need to know some little bit facts, which is causing this challenge. Now, as we read in the news and by the UN reports, by year 2050, around 66% of the world population will be living in urban areas. Why? Because it provides economic opportunities and better education and better public services and better standards. We've been looking at the trends in Saudi Arabia, and we can see you've just mentioned it in the previous panel about 85%, almost 85% urbanization is happening in Saudi Arabia. We have been monitoring that from 2015 up to date, and we can see massive stress on urbanization, and this is happening mainly in Jeddah also and Riyadh, with over 3 to 4 million of increase in population. So why facts? I mean, as we are now, we are less than half of the world population living in cities. But fact is that 85% of the world economy comes from cities. And 60%, but the bad part of it, that 60% of the global energy is coming also, is consumption is happening from cities. Unfortunately, 70% of the greenhouse emissions comes from cities. And 70% of the global waste are coming from cities, and mainly, unfortunately, developed cities. Not the undeveloped cities. So imagine. So the other main challenge from all what I've said is population. So if we looked at Napoleon in the 19th century, we were less than 1 billion. Since Earth started, when we know history, recorded history till date, it was around 1 billion. And with World War II, by end of World War II, the world was around 2 billion. Imagine in around 77 or 80 years from 1945 till date, we have moved up to 8 billion in the population. This is the main challenge, that how to manage this growth. So that would give us 7 main challenges in where we are now. Number 1, environmental threats. And we can see that every day, and how we will be able to design cities that will be able to be resilient to climate changes and to be able to sustain these threats that we have. Number 2 is available resources. Are we going to have this available resources? I mean, by 2050, we're expecting to reach to 9.5 to 10 billion. Are we going to have available resources? And number 3 is inequality of public investments. And when I say that, I mean we are focusing on cities and not others. You've mentioned urbanization and people moving to urban areas, but if governments are focusing also on non-urban areas, maybe this migration would not happen. So there is an equal, and we see that, for example, in UK, where we see public investment is focused maybe in UK or England, but unlike the rest of the UK regions. It happens in many cities. So inequality is quite a threat. Technology. Number four, this is a major challenge on cities, so you have to be ready with these technologies. And unfortunately, it's a big challenge even for underdeveloping countries. We have over of 25% of the world population is beyond poverty line. So what would happen? We really be focusing on technologies, and investing on technology, or investing on shelters and food. So technology is a challenge. Governance is a major challenge, because governance is what do? We build cities and we manage cities as governments. So managing all this amount of people, again, it becomes another challenge. Housing and informal settlements is a major thing. We have unfortunately reached to around 25% of the world population living in informal settlements. And this housing becomes a major issue on governance. Last, which I think it's a challenge to cities, especially smart cities, is the privacy, believe it or not. But I mean, with all the amount of IoTs that we have and the protection law that has been issued in 2018, which I don't think it is enough, and I don't think even it's fitting with smart cities, but it is another challenge on cities.
Yeah, very important points mentioned there, Omar, and it definitely comprehensively covers the kind of focus that's not just Saudi Arabia, but obviously countries across the region need to focus on when they're looking at smart city as a concept. Now, I see we don't have much time there, but then I do have a quick question for you there, Samir. With all these, the essential element is obviously making human-centric design principles. And I remember, because we had a discussion about this last week as well, when you were at the ITV Media Group headquarters. Now, what, according to you, are some of these key design enablers that stimulate the growth of smart infrastructure in a smart city?
Thank you, Ranju. Just building on what Omar was saying about the challenges, and I think overcoming the future challenges in the kingdom lies within human resources. Thus, investing in people through emphasizing the smart people dimension would actually result in having a truly intelligent city that will eventually lead to a full smart city. Smart cities use human-centered design to flip the traditional model of city government and focus on serving its residents. However, human-centered design begins by looking closely on how people behave in real life. I think Omar touched base on that earlier on. When you look closely on how people behave in real life and designing services around their needs, it enables cities to roll out prototypes, measure outcomes, fail fast, and iterate rapidly. With human-centered design, the process at innovation and improvement actually never ends, and they are simply just ongoing.
Yeah, that's right. Very interesting point there. And then a quick one too, but it also reminds us of the benefits that we get from human-centric design principles. And that would be my last question for the wonderful panel here. Going with you first, Manal, how do you think will people benefit from smart cities? And in the kingdom, how challenging will it be to achieve the smart city ambition, according to you?
Yeah. I think, as everybody has mentioned, the aim of smart city is to enhance the quality of life for the citizens. This is the ultimate goal. All the things are focusing on citizens. So there's a number of important focus areas for any government or authority to deliver a smart city, and I think it's very important for all stakeholders to work together, to have a common vision and strategy, and understanding what are the main objectives behind the smart city. Because you can have, as Omar, I think, mentioned, there are so many components for smart city, and I think it's really challenging to tackle all of them at once. So there should be, a clear vision and strategy and objectives, and there isn't like one single model of a smart city. It depends on the specific national requirements, even the local context for the smart city. And again, it's always important to start with the end in mind, like what do we want to achieve, where we want to be, and what do we need to do to achieve that based on the objectives that we said. Technology is just an enabler. It's not the end goal. So we're not just implementing technology for the purpose of having all the, the nice ICT and IoTs and so on. So we need to focus on the end, having the citizen, and the people's needs, at the core of this. And I think again, and I think the integration again is the most important aspect.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Coming to you, Omar, and I'm sure you would agree to what Manal has mentioned, but do you think, and what do you think about how should Saudi Arabia prepare to provide the benefits that Manal just mentioned, as smart cities to its people?
As Manal said, it's all about citizens, and that's the target, to be honest. And that's my first thing, that we really need to make sure that the development of smart cities is really focusing on cities, and we're not focusing on technology to lead our life. It's really one very interesting example, which I think we have to look at examples when we look at Saudi Arabia and what will happen, is Barcelona, to be honest. It's since 2014, they are one of the leading smart city countries in the world, them and New York, to be honest, that they have been focusing on putting technology at the service of people. And I love this term, putting technology at the service of people, because we don't want to end otherwise. As I said to you in the beginning, it's all about the humanizing our technology and building the foundation of the technology. I think Saudi Arabia definitely is on the rank of doing something like that. Looking, for example, at the 5G, which is one major issue, to be able to achieve the smart cities, to be able to put all these IoTs that I've been discussing. Saudi Arabia is the first country in the MENA region, and I think Nasser was discussing it also in the beginning in his speech, to deploy 5G, and currently ranked the 4th globally in 5G penetrations. Again, in cybersecurity, the market was estimated to reach to around $5.6 billion US dollars by 2023. So they are ready, to be honest, for that. Very important that we understand the benefit, and that's what you asked, what people would benefit. That was a question that you were asking now. I think there will be a huge amount of reduction by using these IoTs. I mean, something like waste, which people might not feel how important it is, but we're expecting an increase of the waste collected by cities from to 2050 by almost an increase of 70%. And that's massive. So you're talking about 2,000 million tons of garbage that would reach to 3.4 billion of garbage. So all these things that we're discussing are very important and will benefit. Will benefit how? There will be minimum of for example, 25 to 30% reduction in irrigation water consumption when we use these IoTs and technology. You will have around 50% reduction of water management. Barcelona saved over 60 million US dollars in 2014 by using sensors in their pipelines. So it's not the regular infrastructure that we used to hear about and we all the time manage it. It's different technologies that we have to adapt to be able to achieve better saving and to remove all the challenges that we have been discussing in the panel.
Absolutely, Omar. Very intriguing points there, and also some key reminders on how we should be changing our approach and adopting to new technological advancements when we're looking at smart cities. Now, what would be your last points there and final points there, Samir?
I think you keep doing the same thing for me, talking after Omar and Manal. But the simple answer, Ranju, and repeating what Manal and Omar were saying, it's quality for life. It's quality of life. It's clear that Saudi Arabia strives to transform its cities into smart cities. It has a clear vision, willing, and the required resources to achieve its aspirations. I agree with Omar that the nation is ready, but I also believe that there are a lot of investments in the ICT infrastructure as a foundation of many smart cities dimensions, and comparatively less efforts towards the mobility and smart people dimension. Therefore, I believe it's important to put balanced and determined efforts in all dimensions. Eventually, again and again and again, it's quality of life, improving quality of life.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And really interesting panel discussion there. And I'm sure everyone who's watching us definitely had a lot of pointers to take home now. Thank you very much once again, Omar, Samir, and Manal. It was a pleasure having you. Although Omar couldn't join us on video, I was really happy that he was able
Thank
to
you,
lend his
Ranju.
voice and some insights.
Thank you, Ranju.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you.
once
Thank you
again,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Now, as technological advances are uncovered, smart city frameworks are solidified. And in Saudi Arabia, they are expected to become the new standard for urban living. And definitely, this was one key factor and key enabler of what all of our panelists mentioned just now in the panel discussion. Now, I would like to thank them all once again, and we will now invite the wonderful Jane O'Neill, who is the editor of Commercial Interior Design, a sister title of Construction Week Middle East, to moderate the final panel for the day. Jane, the stage is all yours.
What a wonderful introduction, Ranju. Thank you. As Ranju said, I'm Jane O'Neill. I'm the editor of Commercial Interior Design. The interior design sector in Saudi is booming, but before interiors comes infrastructure, and that's what we're here to discuss today. Infrastructure investment has become a major priority for Saudi, a national priority, and the advantages of good design have become increasingly essential. Major infrastructure projects around the country have produced great examples for the whole region to learn from. Today, we're going to explore with the panelists how the Kingdom could alleviate challenges associated with constructing integrated infrastructure, whether social or transportation, by embracing innovative design techniques and through modular construction methods. We've enjoyed some fascinating discussions so far, and I'm sure our panelists can continue that. So let's introduce them. We have Sheriff Biali, Director of Infrastructure Supervision from WSP in the Middle East. Hi, Sheriff. We have Walid Khaled, Sales Director for Lowesberg de Boer, and Kintabai Idris, Client Development Director for ACOM Middle East. I can see at least one person joining us in the discussion. Hi, Sheriff. You can turn your...
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
So far. Looks like the other panelists are just coming online. So maybe while we're waiting for everyone to join us, you could talk me through what are the infrastructure essentials for designing a 21st century mega project in the region?
Jane, thank you very much. And I had the pleasure to listen to the previous panel led by Ranju, which she did a great job. I had the pleasure to listen to Omar, Manal, and Samir talking about smart cities. And when we're talking about the infrastructure essential for designing the 21st century and mega project, and specifically in Saudi Arabia, as the previous panel mentioned, is the quality of life and how we make life smart, building smart cities, more economical, more environmental friendly, mobility. When we talk about the Lion project in Neom, and how we make people life easier, the governance and the transparency in the government and the e-government system to make people life easy. So in overall shifting the car centric to human centric, and in our design of the infrastructure support the mass transport and improve the mobility system. We see in a lot of areas around us the scooters, the bicycle path, the shared foot pathways, and that's all to improve the quality of life, reduce the carbon emission, and improve the quality overall of life.
That's fascinating to think one day we could be enjoying car-free cities, especially in this part of the world when car ownership, and having a car is seen as an essential of getting about. But I do think we enjoy some fantastic transport systems here in the region as well. So it's good to hear that's going to be taken forward. Kintabai, thank you. You're online as well, and I believe Walid, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
Fantastic. We can't see you, but it's good to know you're here. Yeah, so we started with Sheriff because we were waiting for you guys to come online. So I want to throw that first question at you too as well, and I'll repeat it in case you didn't catch it. What are the infrastructure essentials for designing a 21st century mega project in the region? We heard a little something there from Sheriff about transport.
I mean, it's been a fantastic time in terms of infrastructure in the region. And I think for us, infrastructure has always been the fact that it's, historically, we've always been considering things like either utilities and transportation. With the transportation, that's allowed us to consider things, the airports, your ports, your roads. But I think one new essential element of our infrastructure has been the digital element of infrastructure. And I think Omar Dalal has spoken a lot about that on the panel before. And I think and it's in two parts, really. It's us designing using the digital infrastructure, and then us providing that digital infrastructure. And there's an overlap there of, with us in telecommunications. But without a doubt, infrastructure for the future is definitely about how we interconnect using this technology and the digital infrastructure that we provide. And we've got to design for that. And I think it's quite interesting the fact that we've always, as designers of infrastructure, we do design for the future. Everything we design, be it a utility plant, a road, we just...
I think Kenway's internet is just catching up with them there, which is ironic when we're talking about digital. While we're waiting for that to reconnect, Waleed, maybe we could talk a little bit about what role modular construction plays in mega projects.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasant start of the day, hearing all the comments and thoughts about infrastructure and how the development has been going through. Answer to your question, and for us coming with a modular construction drive and mentality, I think when designing a 21st century mega project, it is essential to consider how soon the infrastructure will be required. Both in terms of its overall place within the total project and being usable by the people who will be ultimately benefiting from the project when it's completed. I think if taking the principles of designing infrastructure and building these mega urban destination while clients, designers, architects want to deliver the project for people to live and visit, business consideration, such as a return on investment, also play a big role. Again, coming with a modular construction mentality, we do believe that the technology behind that segment can benefit these mega project and bring something new to the table, offering solution that can be completed in far less time than conventional builds, while offering the same flexibility and quality as traditional construction in terms of standards, construction standards, and so on. Meaning this mega project can essentially be fast-tracked so people can access them soon, and investors also can start to see returns faster. That's something. Looking holistically, the key essential consideration has to be how to create destination that will attract residents, visitors, and tourism, which is a very important key drive the Saudi government is looking to, and that will turn the success for the completed project.
Thank you, and we will come back to looking at the elements of human-centric design that you referred to a little later into the discussion. Kintabay, do you want to finish your point there? We kind of lost you about 3 minutes back. So I don't know if you want to pick up from when you realised that the technology let us down.
So I think, as I was saying, we've always designed infrastructure in our design for long term. So when you're saying designing for the future and what is the essentials of it, we design our roads, our utilities, 50 years, 60 years, and even 100, 120 years when you come and look at bridges. We're at the point now where we actually don't really know what is it we're actually going to be designing, because things have moved so quickly in recent years. And this is the tipping point, I think. We're at that tipping point with all this destructive technology. Are we going to be designing for automated vehicles, our roads, or is it going to a combination of both? And so, whereas now, will our design even be, our infrastructure, will it be obsolete? We have to, really question that. And I think when we were designing, for example, the Expo 2020, 5 years ago, and looking at transportation studies, could we really achieve, 25, 30% of it to be done by public transport? But I think, this month we can confirm, I think 29% of the visits to it was done by public transport. So I think all the big visions that a lot of the big giga projects that are being considered in Saudi Arabia have been, very ambitious in terms of the different modes that we're going to have to are essential to our business, to our industry. And the fact that they're being this ambitious really helps us and supports us in actually looking forward and not just being very conservative engineers as we have historically been. And I think that's really the exciting bit of what we're doing at the moment in this market. And hat off to any engineer actually that's working in this region on these projects. It really is exciting, especially the younger engineers.
I think Expo 2020 is a fascinating example of transport infrastructure. I travelled there at the weekend, got the metro to see the buses moving people about, just the scale of the car parks, QR codes for locating your car. It's simply so impressive. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it's a great example of what the region can do. We've all kind of alluded to what you're working on at the moment, but do you want to discuss specifically what infrastructure projects you're working on individually as companies, and what status they're at? And just, if there's anything under NDA, then remember we're live, so you might want to skip that. Sheriff, do you want to start by telling us what projects the company's working on at the moment? What WSP you got going on?
So, like the previous panel said, we never have been busier than this time. So we having project from master planning and design initiation to different stage of design, all the way to construction supervision and final completion and handover. So, for examples, we're working on Neom, Mala, Riyadh, King Khalid International Airport, King Salman Park, DGDA, Misk, Ru'a Al Medina, Jeddah municipality, and a lot of them we are using the digitization and trying to incorporate the digital twin technology that lead us toward building smart cities and improve the quality of people at the end of the day. So for example, Mace City, we supporting them to evaluate commercially and technically the system integrator who will build and roll out the smart city technology. And same in Neom, we just the idea to translate the wider Neom smart city strategy into the implementation master plan. That's of course involved ensuring that all the multi-asset and the multidisciplinary design is incorporated in all the smart city requirements. So that's in KSA. Globally, also in Australia, we are building smart cities double the size of Belgium that can predict and inform about wildfire, for example. And those ideas we can also be tailored here in Saudi Arabia with flooding, for example. Those projects with the digitization and the digital twin can help tremendously delivering these projects.
Thank you for mentioning smart cities, as that's something I wanted to touch on later, but no time like the present. What kind of technology are you using to create the smart city? What would be typical?
We use a lot of vendors, and each city is unique as being a smart city. So it's identifying the right technology to be used for each client need. They're not all the same, the same vendor, but we provide so there's variety of vendor that we can use and software that we can use.
Thank you. Waleed, are you still here?
I'm still here. Yeah, voice only.
Thank you. Just the voice from the ether. Yeah, if you would like to tell us a little bit more, what are you working on at the moment, infrastructure-wise?
We have been extensively involved with Saudi development projects 7 years ago, and taking the modular construction bit by bit with different clients and different developments. While we contribute to a number of infrastructure projects, we don't build roads or project traditionally classes as infrastructure, but we have definitely extensive experience in supporting infrastructure projects. That includes starting from providing temporary housing for workers, delivering additional factory and warehousing facilities, all the way up through to providing retail, healthcare, and education structures and communities to have all the required facilities to make them attractive for residents. We have been also involved in projects aimed to raising Saudi Arabia's profile as a tourism destination. Example, Jeddah Superdome, which has been built on Medina Road. Our structure also can do and play a major role in attracting attention, providing venues for events, bringing investors' interest, and becoming focal point of projects and even cities. Definitely part of the infrastructure which requires to bring it to life, museums, opera houses, modular hotels, experience centers, all of that, what we can do to contribute overall for infrastructure to come online and usable for people and investors to come along.
That sounds fascinating. And it also sounds like you'd echo what Sheriff said about never having been busier. Kinderby, what about things at your side? Never been busier?
Yes, very interesting. So ACOM has been in the region for over 60 years. And I think, you can split our work. I mean, we're probably the largest consultant in the region. But you could probably split our work as to, there's the more legacy work, I'd say, where we've been working, for example, on the Jeddah storm water issues for over 7-8 years. We've been working on the 600 dams project for many years. KFDA, Haramain connection. So I suppose they're ongoing major infrastructure developments. But I think what's really invigorated us all since 2017 is the Giga project, is the PIF and the Vision 2030. And there, of course, like Sharif, we've been, working with, the big Daraya, Amala, Red Sea. And I suppose the one that really excites everybody is NEOM, which we've been working on, I think now for 2-3 years now, working on the spine. So I think there's a mix and match of types of projects, and I think it's good in terms of be it design, be it the supervision of it. But the design element, and I go back to the title of this particular panel, it's how do we design the infrastructure future. I don't think if you let it just to us engineers to come along and do it, we would probably done it, just as we have done for the last 100, 200 years. I think it's the vision of our clients here in the Kingdom that they have put these really ambitious, goals for us to achieve, be it from ESG, be it from sustainability, and be it from the digital side. That's what's made us have to rethink, and of course the fast track element of it as well, which always happens, has made us really have to think hard about how do we achieve it. And and sometimes we've got to step aside us older folk and let our younger engineers come in and come up with these newer ideas, and that's been happening quite a bit. So it really is an exciting time, I think, without a doubt. I think in the first panel, I think it was Kenny who said that we're experiencing a huge boom. I don't think it's a huge boom at the moment. I think we're just at the start of this boom. I think, in the years to come, it's going to be amazing, in terms of us having to engineer the infrastructure and change the way the infrastructure is going to move forward. I also think that if you look at, we mentioned the Dubai example. Dubai had one of the largest contractors in Arab tech that was probably, the world leader in high-rise buildings globally. And it's a real shame to see now that that company doesn't exist anymore. So all of that know-how, their expertise, I think by the end of this boom, the goal will be in Saudi Arabia is that we will have talent, we will have experience of doing work that Saudi Arabia should then be able to even export to other parts of the world that are going to try and do the similar aspects that, like what Sharif said, with what has been done in Australia. Well, I can see very clearly in 10 years' time, maybe 20 years' time, the expertise that happens from this boom, from this golden age, will be exported out from the kingdom elsewhere.
A follow-up question for that. As the country invests in infrastructure, what investment is taking place in the local talent pool catering to the infrastructure industry? I'll put that back to you, Kintibai, first because you raised the point. So tell us what we're doing about it.
So, I'll move one step further. What I've seen now from the investment in the local talent has been, we see the fruits of it already. So, if you go into our offices here in NACOM, the local talent, they're actually in our design teams at the moment is excellent. The quality, the initiative, the hardworkingness, and whenever we start talking about a project in a certain part of a region, and we have designers, master planners from that region, the enthusiasm and the work ethic. So there has obviously been a hell of a lot of investment to date in that talent, and we're seeing how the fruits of that already now. So imagine in 5 years' time, these will be engineers and designers, master planners that will actually have contributed to not just designing, but to actually implementation of their infrastructure. So I think actually, surprisingly, I think we're already quite a few steps forward on that.
Thank you. I'd like to move the discussion on. We've talked a lot about positives, and that's because there are a lot of positives to talk about. I wonder if the panel could reflect on what challenges you face in infrastructure projects and what are the main learning points. Sheriff, would you like to take that first?
Yes, sure. I just want to mention one thing, reiterating what Idris said. The talent. I'm really impressed with the talent, with the young talent. And WSP, we do have a graduate program. And when I meet those young engineers and young individuals supporting the vision of Saudi 2030 and supporting the Saudization initiative, I was really impressed. They're very talented, they're very ambitious, and I just don't want to reiterate more than this. Regarding the challenges, there is, of course, come to construction, design, innovation, introducing new technology. There is a lot of challenges, and some of the challenges are the resourcing, finding the right people to do this job. There is mega project, and Idris will tell me on AECOM Nayoum alone, I don't know how you're going to bring all those people to do the job. And in my humble opinion, the fact that a lot of big companies that are present in the region, Idris representing AECOM, I'm representing WSP, that will make all companies or huge companies compete to bring the best talent and bring the best product and value to our client. But again, the resources is an issue, and so that's the main thing. The Saudization is a great initiative, but to be flat honest, it will take a little bit. It will give us a little bit challenge to train some of the Saudi technician that weren't used to do certain jobs, so that we can slow a little bit down. But I see the future will be great. the regulation and the authority requirement that keep changing. We're talking about e-governance and how we make the process very easy. And I see a great achievement in that. When the e-governance, you can pay your bills, everything online. But changing the regulation when it's come to construction permitting and who you need to get approval from, and the change in the requirement from different stakeholders, especially military and a sensitive area. I think the early engagement with all stakeholders is key, essential to deliver these projects. And I feel that's an effort that has to be done from private and government section. Uh, the main one that we all face is the clashes between different utilities and the lack of accuracy of as-built drawings. But again, we have BIM clash detection, squad review process that we can push the contractors, that we can go as early as possible, that we can try to solve this issue. So in summary, it's the stakeholder approvals and engagement, the resourcing, the Saudization, the clashes between utilities, and the regulatory and the authority requirement change from the time to time. And lastly is the COVID, but I think we are being functioning very well during this COVID time. And I think it's been lax now and things are getting back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I don't think we can ever get tired of hearing the phrase new normal, but I'll repeat it. Yeah, we think we're all in a new normal now, but it feels as normal as it's ever been for a long time. Waleed, would you like to reflect on challenges? And if you want to bring in young talent as well, I think it's only fair that you have a mention on that as well, as to how Losberger de Boer is managing young talent.
Yeah, definitely. I think Kantibi and Sharif touched point on the major challenges. More or less every architect or contractor is facing within the construction. I think simply adding to that, seeing the development happening over the last 7 years, being in Saudi executing projects, I think we still have some lack of transparency between entity, client, architects, and the contractor. And it's a cycle which is very important to have a collaborative process from the beginning. When the client has an inquiry, he started to generate an idea and then involve an architect or a designer. Then the RFP is issued, and maybe sometime issued on specific terms and conditions related to Saudi standards or so on. From our perspective, again, as a modular construction provider, the collaborative approach will definitely reduce lead times, make the build process easier, and even controlling the cost in a better way. Still, the challenges of raising the awareness of modular construction when it comes to capabilities and possibilities is still in the very early stages, despite whatever has been achieved until now. Bringing the right expertise local to local knowledge is crucial, and this is part of what we do as well, deploying the experienced international that we have to the local market, and dealing with subcontractors and clients and even suppliers has been going gradually since the beginning. But still, I would recommend more clarity from the early stage of any project. This helps to enhance the talent experience, to enhance the design of the project, and moving forward with executing it. I think that's one of the major pillars as well.
Sounds like there's some common themes there as to what challenges are being presented. I want to look back to, we've seen, I mentioned at the start, a huge boom in interior design in Saudi, and a lot of that's been fueled by the huge changes in the socio-economic structure. Taking it back to your topics of specialism, how has what's changed in Saudi society and economy, how is that influencing construction, architecture, design, infrastructure, engineering? What effects are we seeing? Kintabai, do you want to take that forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think from an infrastructure point of view, let's take Vision 2030 just for Riyadh alone. I mean, we have a current population of 8 million, and we need to bring that up to between 15 to 20 million by 2030. That equates to roughly about 1.25 million people per annum additional to the city, which is a great feat. You know, if you just look at historically, they always used to say to us that 25% of all cranes were in Dubai from 2000 to 2007. We always hear it all the time. That was to increase the population from 500,000 to 2.5 million. So with 25% of the cranes, of the world's cranes in Dubai in that period, to increase it by 1.5 million, well, we've got to do that here in Riyadh every single year. So so that population increase is going to have a huge effect on how we design our infrastructure, design our buildings. I think Walid will definitely add to that. But from an infrastructure point of alone, just the amount of utilities that will be required is substantial. And I think how we design this infrastructure and to allow for this social demographic change is going to be the challenge. And I think the key to it all, and I think it answers the question that you asked just before, it's all about us designing it to be flexible. Flexibility, I think, if there's any lessons learned that I've had from my experience in the industry, we've got to be flexible. And of course, that's very, very difficult. Sharif has another idea to that.
Yeah, Walid, would you like to add to that, as Kintabai suggested?
I think following Kintipi's comment is if we only look to the tourism and leisure hub that Saudi is trying to create and achieve, that's by itself a segment in the infrastructure. If we are targeting 5.3% contribution to GDP, as the government has announced, creating that much jobs, thousands of jobs, and increasing the foot traffic of tourism up to 2030 to 100 million, that's a very ambitious plan. And looking to the designing the infrastructures happening at the moment with the conventional construction method and standards, yes, it's crucial. Yes, it should take a big percentage of the design and the development for sure. But we believe modular can definitely implement a different solution to take that to fast track. 9 years or 8 years from now to achieve 2030 is not a lot of time. So development of new infrastructure and redevelopment and enhancement of existing cities needs to happen now to achieve the plan. So we need to see more appetite for modular construction and technologies of this segment to be applied in designing and executing of those projects. So Saudi Arabia, yes, it is well positioned to become an established business hub for the region, but we need to see those solutions also taking part of the plan and the execution of it, so we can catch up the time. That's from our vision as modular construction provider.
Sharif, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll add to Walid and Kintibi's. I'm just going to add 3 things when we are talking about the development of Saudi Arabia and the influence of construction, architect, and design. I've seen Saudi, when it's come to tourism, they're celebrating their identity, and that's something I feel it's crucial to attract tourism. And I see the road is very ambitious. The other thing is the woman participation now in the industry. That's also empower inclusiveness and enhance the better decision making. So that's something that I see and I see coming, and I see only a positive outcome from it. The other thing that shifting to renewable and the green hydrogen plan that might be used for industrial and manufacturing use, and energizing mean of transport, and all that all go through all the different stage of initiation, master planning, design, and so on to delivery. So that's the 3 points that I want to add to what Kintibi and Walid just mentioned.
Thank you. I'm glad you've raised the issue of sustainability, as that's something that's definitely key to a lot of the projects we're seeing coming through. I wonder if the panel would like to talk about how energy efficiency and in sustainability are being factored into new infrastructure projects. Sharif, perhaps you can go talk on that again and tell me how sustainability factors in the projects that WSP are working on.
So again, where sustainability is a goal, we're talking about smart cities, and smart city must be sustainable. Sustainable, and I don't want to repeat what the previous panel meant with the smart mobility, the smart governments, the environmental, the local produce, the local talent, the education, and all that. We, at the end of the day, with all the smart technology, we are a profession that deliver on scope, schedule, budget, environmental compliance, quality, safety, with stakeholder management and sustainability. So on every aspect of our project, designing it, we want to ensure it's sustainable. It provides social, economical, and quality for, at the end of the day, for people, for the residents. So that's something that we put in our design. How we can be eco-friendly, how we can recycle material, and we've been very successful. WSP on different projects, we've been very successful to introduce the crumb rubber, for example, and that's the wearing course for asphalt. Recycle the tires that we see laying around. We take it, we recycle it, and we introduce it as a wearing course. Recycle asphalt, the milling machines. We take the recycled asphalt and we use it, and we recycle and use it as base course. So in our design and in our construction delivery, sustainability is one of the pillars, alongside the scope, the safety, the environmental compliance, that it's in our DNA as a company, and in this industry DNA as well.
Thank you. Walid, modular construction, what are the sustainability benefits of that process?
If you say modular, you say sustainability. They equal each other. Modular construction reduces waste, reduces labor intensity. It's a factory-based production. It definitely controls the cost to the bare minimum as much as possible. And at the same time, it's a reusable material. So modular by nature is a sustainable product. With the technology that we have globally now, it can reach unlimited potential, from normal standard housing for workers, as I said before, to high-rise buildings for hotels or buildings for hospitals and education facilities. So it definitely can provide a sustainable product to serve any kind of infrastructure development. And this is exactly what we are looking and always developing our technology to be on top of it and deliver the right product whenever it's required.
Thank you. I'm going to let Kintibi have his input on this topic as well, but I just wanted to say what's fascinating for me from an interior design point of view. Sustainability often has to be retrograded to interiors projects. I think the fascinating thing is with infrastructure construction that sustainability can be there from the outset. It can be literally one of the pillars on which the project is built. So I wonder if, Kintibi, if you could tell us something about one of AECOM's, the Giga project, NEOM, how sustainability is key in what's going on there.
Yeah, so I think be it NEOM, be it Al-Ula, be it Qiddiya, all of these have great sustainability targets, which requires us as designers of the infrastructure to have a real think about it. But I want to just move a step. I mean, we were talking about at the outset, during the design and the construction of a project, the sustainability of it is only in effect 2 to 5% of its full lifetime. So if you really want a product to be sustainable, we need to design it now so that the operation of it is going to be sustainable, because the operation will last for much longer. And that is something that we're having to insert now into our designs to make sure that the operation of it can be much more sustainable, because all it requires is, a 1% better method of operation will have a much greater effect of anything that we do sustainable during the design or the construction of some of these projects that are between 10 to 100 to 50 billion dollars. But what's new, and I think what Sharif and Reid also mentioned was about in the pre-panel before, was with regards to the smart city element of it, the technology side, and that's brought a new dimension to, because that's brought a new dimension of sustainable challenges. And I mean, I don't really have the answer to it, so maybe people on this call can go away and think about it. But as most of our infrastructure with regards to smart city relates to data collection and transferring of data, and this has become a big part of all the infrastructure that we design. So, for example, at the moment, in the infrastructure globally, there's about now nearly 4 billion different sensors within our infrastructure, connecting people, collecting data, and so forth. And that gets all stored back into data centers, which is now part of our infrastructure. So these data centers are now consuming vast amounts of energy. I think data centers are about 3 to 4% of all global electricity is now used up by data centers. It's amazing. And therefore, the carbon and gas emissions is also around about 3% of the total carbon emissions. To give you, that's roughly the same as the aviation industry. So the aviation industry has the same amount of emissions. So we have now all of a sudden become responsible to manage how we're going to make this element of our infrastructure a sustainable element. And as I said earlier on in the beginning, I don't have the answer to that yet. But we need to think of how do we get there. But it's very, very important.
I think that's the beauty of panel discussions. You don't need the answers, you just need to put the topics out there and see where we go. This panel discussion has been fascinating, but sadly it's almost over. We've got about 6 minutes left before I need to hand back over to Ranju for her closing remarks. So I just want to go around and ask everyone individually if you could just sum up in maybe 30 seconds what the outlook is for the infrastructure sector and subsector growth within the kingdom. So would be that construction, master planning, regional design, specific project you're working on, infrastructure as a whole. What is the outlook for growth in the kingdom? Waleed, do you want to take that forward?
Definitely, there is a positive outlook. We are seeing significant recovery post-COVID with an increase in infrastructure projects, spending and activity on mega projects and giga projects. We are also witnessing not only more regional investment, but also more international into the country. And that cement the position as an upcoming hub for business, tourism, healthcare, leisure, etc. With the announcement of the $3 trillion investment dollars into the kingdom over the next 9 years, the kingdom is striving to be the most investor-friendly destination. To kick these plans off, the kingdom also plans to build more internal rails, railway networks, and additional infrastructure project and development will certainly follow. From modular perspective, I think this has to be taken in consideration and move forward with these plans.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping that concise. Sharif, would you like to give us your thoughts in 30 seconds?
In 20, very quickly, there's a lot going on in Saudi Arabia. It's a huge market, and it go from master planning that go to design and construction. So Idris can be involved in AECOM massively. WSP is as well. There is a huge master planning need. But suddenly, all this in this region will transform to design and construction, and that's where the resource challenges would be really an issue. The other thing is there is other sector that heavily in construction, other sectors are heavily in design. So the mix of both, but I see in 5-6 years, things going to go toward a lot of construction, and that's where the challenge will be to find the right resources. That's why things need to be thought on smart technology to save the resources requirements.
Thank you. It's certainly an exciting time for all the sectors, from yours through to mine, the endpoint in interior design. Kintamay, would you like to wrap up with your 30-second thoughts on the sector?
Yeah, so without a doubt, I think, this is a brighter time than ever before. I don't think the region has seen anything like this. I think anybody working in this sector at this moment in time, they are witnessing the golden age of construction in that industry. And I think, history will show many decades down the line, well after we've all retired, that, if we are unable to succeed in what we're doing at the moment, this will be a standout period. We've got great time ahead of us. And I think we're just starting. What more positiveness can you get than that?
Thank you so much. What a point to end on, a golden age. I'd like to hand back to Ranju now, but before I do that, I'd say thanks to all the panel members. That was certainly, I've learned a lot, coming from the interior design sector. It's fascinating to hear what's proceeding by the time the project gets to our point of view. Thank you for Construction Week for inviting me to come on this panel. I think we're going to hand over to Ranju now, and she will give final remarks and probably thank our sponsors. I'm going to thank our sponsors while I fill for time. Hi, Ranju.
Hey, Jane, amazing panel discussion there. And thank you so much once again to you for hosting this and moderating this panel, and to Waleed, Sheriff, and Kintabi for such exciting and amazing insights. I'm really getting some messages about how insightful this panel was. So thank you once again to all of you gentlemen and our wonderful Jane. Now, I'm sure you all have had some very important lessons and key pointers from the panel discussions today. All three of them were really insightful and obviously opens door to some key discussions that we need to have about not just infrastructure development, but an overall construction infrastructure and smart city development, as well as the adoption of smart technologies such as modular construction in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, we all know that infrastructure is an important pillar of the Vision 2030 in the kingdom, and undoubtedly, it is amplifying the development of major mega and giga projects in the nation. And we at Construction Week Middle East are totally positive that today's conference has provided an excellent platform for all of our audiences to get a comprehensive understanding of the kingdom's infrastructure development and technological advancements. As we call it today, with some power-packed panel discussions, I would like to thank every one of our panelists for joining us today, and to Jane for having moderated the last panel discussion. It was an absolute pleasure seeing such amazing insights coming on board. We're also elated to have brought this conference to you with the support of our wonderful sponsors, which is our gold sponsors, Al Bawani, Khatib bin Alami, Naga Architects, and Losberger de Boer. On that note, we will see you again next year at this KSA Infrastructure Summit 2023. If you want to catch all the conference updates and post-conference coverage on our website and on our LinkedIn and Twitter pages, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and to all of our social media accounts.